Are most of you guys in Pennsylvania?
New Jersey.
It's about 50-50. You got New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio right now.
Okay, awesome.
Florida and Maine.
Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey. Yeah, it's today was our warm day. It hit 22 today, so we've had quite a cold snap up here. Been in the sub-zero temperatures for the last week and a half or so. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's unusual.
Yeah, it's there's cold snaps in January, but late December, we got some pretty good sized storms in December before Christmas, and then the cold snap started towards the end of December, which is pretty unusual. Usually, if we have a cold snap up here, it's mid to late January. We'll have one. So we've had a few over a couple week period of time, and we got a big storm rolling in tomorrow that could be real interesting if it comes in the right way. We might get a couple feet. So,
oh wow,
with high winds and cold weather and all sorts of stuff. So it's pretty messy right now, but it's good for residual, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started tonight. I'm gonna mute everyone's line here, so I'll get it set up. I'll unmute you in a second, Tim. Okay, I don't know if I did that right. Probably not. Mute all. Right. Well, I guess I have to do it manually. Yeah, me, I don't want to mute myself. Got Tim. For some reason, it's not letting me. There we go. I can't mute Rich. Okay. All right. Well, obviously, some of you got the email, and I'm Marc Alfano. This is my beautiful wife, Christina. We're dialing in now from just outside of Tampa, Florida. We've been down here now for about 3 or 4 days. It took us a couple days to get here. It's funny, the first day we drove, it was like an 8-hour drive, and the second day was supposed to be 8 or 9 hours. It ended up being 12 hours. I guess everybody's making an escape from the north down here. Once we hit Interstate 95, it was nuts, but we made it safe and sound, and we're going to continue on with Zoom. We'll be on again tomorrow night at 7:30 for our Zoom, so make sure that you're getting on that. And I'll just get Rich muted there. There you go. Rich, I just muted you. And so anyways, our guest speaker tonight is this good-looking guy here and his wife, Tim and Sonia Devine. This picture was actually taken in Japan, which is really cool because, most of you on here know about Tim Devine and Sonia and the sacrifice that they've made for their family and also for Ambit in general to go over and kind of be a part of that pre-launch of Japan and lay the groundwork. And so we're excited about what they've done over there and also kind of what they've done in Ambit. I mean, just the time frame that they've been in, in this business, to see the progress that they've made and the things that they've done is just remarkable. And what it shows me is that, the best people in Ambit, are still out there. And, you always think, oh, the great ones are in. And just obviously look at Tim, who just a few years ago joined this business and has worked his way up to the top and will eventually be a national consultant and a multimillionaire with the company. And that gives me hope that that'll be me and Christina, and also that anybody on here has a potential of finding somebody like him. Yeah. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tim. He's going to kind of share what's on his heart tonight. And then as we normally do at the end, we'll open it up for a little Q&A time. So, all righty, I'll get out of the way and let you take over there, Tim.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate everybody taking their time to listen in. My wife and I live here in Portland, Maine, and we've been self-employed business owners for about 30 years now. We started early. We started in our early 20s, having children, had a house, and employees and businesses, and we just kind of got thrown into the fire. We were in a situation where, I got a job working with a guy that was getting ready to blow up and expand a company, an oil company. And I was 19 years old pumping gas for this guy, working a couple jobs, and he just was a really neat guy. And so he started buying up places, and he liked me. And, I started leasing gas stations from him. And, I ended up having at one point 4 different service stations, with about 35 employees and 7 days a week, just crazy, and 3 young kids. And, so my wife and I were thrust into the business world in a big way at a young age. And so we learned a lot of things. And during that time, in my early to mid-20s, I was exposed to this industry. I had a local business person, approach me and sponsored me in Amway. I was thrilled that this successful business guy thought enough of me to want me to be a business partner. And so during that time, I cut my teeth. I learned a lot from this guy. And, I was driving. I had 2 big groups. One was 3 hours north in Maine, and the other one was in New Hampshire, almost into Vermont, 3 hours in the other direction. So I would literally work at my gas station, running my businesses, my wife, home with little kids and helping me out. And I would go home and I would run in the house fast enough to change into a suit and tie, jump in my truck, drive 3 hours, go to a no-show or a meeting with someone that just wasn't motivated. I mean, I saw it all at a very young age. And it was, at the time, some of it was discouraging, but I'll tell you what, there was some lessons there during those 3, 4, 5 hour rides, late at night, listening to motivating, talks and just really learning a lot about yourself and people and business. And it wasn't pretty, so when we got involved in Ambit, a few years ago, the funny thing is people say, oh man, you moved pretty quick and did some things. Well, we were very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. We got onto Ray Monte's radar in a new market, and that really gave us a big advantage. So it wasn't just us, it wasn't our talent and our ability, but we had some experience. We kind of knew what to do. We heard about those new markets opening up and what you can create if you take advantage of it and you really get busy. So again, kind of cutting the story short, we've been in this industry for a long time, had some success with the companies we've been with, but we never really had the type of success we had with Ambit because, number one, we didn't have the right leadership in most cases. We had some situations that we had to deal with, in our Amway business, there was our upline all split up. They all didn't like each other, and there was fighting and arguing and all this stuff, and it really ruined the momentum of that group. And then some other companies we just didn't have the right leadership. And so when Ray came along, Ray Monte, I recognized what I was always missing, and I didn't take it for granted. And so I told him, I'm the most coachable person you know. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it. I won't deviate. I'm going to be a student. And, because again, all those hard lessons, all those failures for all those years, there was things that I learned that gave me the ability to understand what I had my hands on here with Ambit Energy. So with that said, that's just a little background. And, I'm going to get into a little bit of training. We were talking earlier, I was talking with Marc and trying to understand the format of what you guys do. And I'm going to talk about some situations that are very relevant that have happened over the last couple of days. And it has to do with any level that you're at in your business, you're looking for the right people to come in. The reason why Ray really zeroed in on me was because he knew what he was looking for. And when he called me, when I signed up, when Maine opened up, and my sponsor's name is Ed Thompson, and Ed asked Ray to give me a call. When Ray called me, he knew what questions to ask because he knew what he was looking for. He wanted to find someone that was committed, someone that was coachable, someone that had integrity, someone that had, a little bit of a sphere of influence and different things. So through our 2-hour conversation talking about sports and life and business and all these different things, Chris and Jerry, we developed a friendship. And he was looking for something and I was looking for something. And both of us recognized that. So with that said, when you're out there building your business, a lot of times we scratch our head and we say, this business isn't going fast enough. Why isn't it happening for me? And what do I need to do? What do I need to change? Well, the thing that will change your business more than anything is knowing who you're looking for, and when they show up, knowing what to do when they show up. So when the right people join your team, it's about knowing how to get them started right, and knowing how to sometimes get out of their way and not smother them. And sometimes it's just being a cheerleader, plugging them into the system. Marc and I were talking about a couple in our downline that went EC recently, and they're people that we've known, my wife and I have known for a long time, and they showed up down in depth in one of the groups and just started rocking it. And then Ray kind of latched onto them, and my wife and I helped them to a degree, but we didn't really have to. They figured it out. They were the right people. It's Jay and Teresa Sanborn, and they're speaking at simulcast. So Jay is a guy that is an extremely hard worker. He had 5 jobs. He was a school teacher, school bus driver, part-time EMT, part-time police officer, part-time limousine driver. Guy had 5 jobs. Talk about someone that's not afraid to work. And so anyhow, when they joined the business, Ray recognized right away. He's like, wow, these people they fast-tracked to RC, they fast-tracked to SC. Shortly after getting started with the business, they wanted to run their own BPs, and they did. So anyways, the moral of the story is this: we get out of the way. I mean, we were just their friends, and we were cheerleaders, and if they needed us for a 3-way call or a little bit of advice, we were always there for them, but we plugged them into the system. We basically got them plugged in and then kind of got out of the way. So that's one story. That's a very unique story. But the thing is this, the last 2 days, my wife and I had 3 meetings with particular people that were like, wow, they're the right people. I mean, if these people want to do this, again, they have to want to do it. And I'll talk about each one of these 3 people, and I'll tell you what we see in them. Then they've got all the ingredients. All 3 of these different people that I'm talking about the last 2 days that we've met with they've got a large sphere of influence with a huge names list. They're nice people. They seem to have a real good why. They seem to be the type that just get it. So it's like, but are they going to build it? I don't know. I mean, that's not up to me. I can't force that on them. All I can do is offer to help. I think that one of the 3, or maybe 2 out of the 3, will actually go on to build this business. I may be wrong. It may be 0 out of 3, right? It may be 3 out of 3. But the point is, that doesn't happen all the time, for one. You don't have 3 meetings in a row with people in your downline that you think can go really build a big business. But my wife and I really try to understand knowing what we're looking for, because here's the thing. I don't want to waste my time with the wrong people. I've done that. I've done so many things to try to help people, and I found that if people aren't willing to help themselves, it's kind of a lost cause. I mean, maybe I'll invite them to church and try to get them to, to realize their faith, and maybe I'll help them in other areas of their life. But if they're not willing to plug in and do the things necessary to build their Ambit business, I don't have time to waste. So in the beginning, you're trying to get a business off the ground. Sometimes you're kind of desperate, and you have to bend your rules a little bit. But after you get the business going and you're you got a decent business as an RC, or you're an SC that's moving to EC, or if you're an executive, you can start to have that luxury. You can start to get yourself in a position where, I look at Ray Monty, and he's like, he will not waste time with the wrong people. He sizes people up quick. He hands them their business card, says, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And then he will, if it's a negative person or a person that's just wasting his time, he'll politely exit himself from that person and move on. What Ray does is he focuses his time, effort, and energy on the right people, because he knows that ultimately that's going to help more people than if he wasted time with the wrong people. So with that, a new MC, what do we do when we get them started? When we go show the plan, we go out there, we have a good meeting, and someone says, all right, I get it. What do I do? I'm ready to go. So what's that conversation look like? Well, usually when I show the plan, I try to scratch out 526 on paper. A lot of times I'll take the Success from Home magazine and a Sharpie. I like to do that. I like to take like a page that's sort of blank or I can write on, and I'll scratch out 526 and kind of show them, you know, get that jumpstart bonus. Let's get you to earn your money back. Let's work towards some free energy, and let's go out there and let's get 6 people involved in the business in some way, shape, or form. That's our first goal. Our first goal is to achieve 526. If I tell them that and they don't do it, at least I've told them the right thing. And so I want to get that planted in their head right away, is getting some customers, and let's keep it real simple. Let's use the favor. I'll help you. This isn't rocket science. And then let's get this concept in front of some people. And then let's achieve 526. And so with that, I also want to get them plugged into the system. You know, I want to get them familiar with the fact that they have some videos on their Power Zone, that's where they can sign up the customers and consultants and whatnot. And then I want to tell them about what's going on. You know, if there's an event coming up like simulcast or a local training or a training like this, I want to try to get that person plugged in as quick as possible. As a matter of fact, the 3 people that we met with today and yesterday, I'm doing a web BP tomorrow night. So that was the next thing coming up. So I said to them, hey, I'm doing a web presentation tomorrow night at 7:30. That's where you can learn a little bit about, you know, how to show the plan, what it's all about. They're all fairly new, so they don't know a lot about the business. But so I want to get them plugged in. I want to get them plugged into whatever's coming up in their Power Zone, and get them trained. Right, the right ones are going to want the training. They're going to want to learn, and they're not going to resist, and they're not going to come up with excuses. And then, you know, you just kind of watch what they do. And if that person logs in and they're texting you with questions and they say, hey, I just spoke to my sister, she's interested, I know I've got a player. You know, if I go on and that person doesn't log in and they've got excuses and I can't get them to the next thing and they've got excuses, then I'll just say, hey, you know what, when you're ready, let me know. And I always try to make sure that I have plenty of people to work with, okay? And I'll reel the tape back a little bit and talk about that. How do you get plenty of people to work with so that you're not held hostage to what your team is not doing? See, I never want to be in a position where I'm saying, man, I got nothing going on, no one's doing nothing. That's my fault. That's my problem. You know, I can't blame other people for that. What I need to do is I need to go sponsor more people. Because if my phone's not ringing and I don't have people asking for my time, then that's on me. I never want to look at other people and say, you know, what have you done for me lately? Or go build my business, or, you know, go make me money. I want to be the servant leader out front, leading from the front. And so by my example, I want my team members to know, the ones that are in the game, that they want to try to keep up with me. And if they want to keep up with me, their tongue's going to be hanging out, because I'm going to outwork them. And if I find someone that outworks me, I'm going to wave the checkered flag, because ultimately that's what you want. And that's the conversation Marc and I had earlier is, you know, we're kind of looking for those people, and they're hard to find. I mean, those people that absolutely go out and blow this thing up and get to executive, guys, they are hard to find. But I'll tell you this, they're out there. They are out there. And like Marc said a few minutes ago, you know, and Brian McClure said this, the best people, the people that are going to have the largest organization in Ambit haven't joined our business yet. And so when you think about that, it's like, well, how is that possible? How could someone out-earn Steve Thompson? Well, guys, when you have a company that goes from 0 to over $1 billion in 11 years, and then the co-founders say in the next 10 years they plan on being at $6 billion, well, I would much rather be in a company that's going to go from 1 to 6 than from 0 to 1. Right? Simple math. $75 to get started now, not $429. We're opening up countries now. You know, there's other states, there's other big states, one of them that Marc and Christina live in, that is on the bubble for, you know, talks about deregulation. So, you know, think about this, you guys. Our company started in Texas. The 3 best states in the United States for network marketing, number 1 is California, number 2 is Texas, and number 3 is Florida. We're not even in number 1 and number 3 yet, and that's in the U.S. So think about moving forward. the growth for this company, I mean, you look at heavy commercial coming on, they'll expand that. Solar, new territories, new states, new countries. This company's just getting started, in my opinion. And that's one of the things I recognize coming from being involved in Amway, which is the biggest company in the world in direct sales. Great company, tremendous success, this, that, and the other thing. Wasn't my thing. I'm not really into selling products. And their marketing plan got stale in the United States. It really boomed here in the 70s and early 80s. That's when Amway really, really blew up in the U.S. And actually, Ambit is bigger than Amway in the United States. And so, just to compare, our company does more revenue and has more consultants than Amway in the U.S. So with that, it's timing. If you look at the timing, if you look at the company, where the company's going and whatnot, the missing equation is because seriously, it's the people that see it big. It's the people that realize these things that are going to be the ones that everybody's talking about, And so, and I don't like coming across like, giving people a hard time about what they don't do. I don't ever like to do that. People have situations and circumstances in their lives. Some people just don't have the luxury of putting a lot of time in this or whatever, everybody's got stuff. So, but I just like to paint the picture that, this thing it's much bigger than probably what all of us here on this presentation, this training realize. This is probably bigger than what Brian McClure can wrap his head around, so think about that one. And so with that, those people that you're looking for, they're out there. Who are those people? What do they look like? Well, I learned something early on from Ray Monty that really helped me to understand what I was looking for, because I didn't get that. In the beginning, I did not fully grasp the concept of knowing who you're looking for. I thought I did. I thought I knew a lot of things that I really didn't know. And I had to learn some things. I'm still learning a lot of things. But what Ray would talk about is, if you had a boardroom and you had 6 people sitting around that boardroom and you could pick the 6 people, who are they and what are their characteristics? So what are the characteristics of the people in your boardroom? Who would you go out and if you were going to go start like one of the gentlemen on here was talking about being in the heating business, right? I don't know exactly what facet of heating, plumbing, heating, HVAC, whatever. But if you're going to go out and start an HVAC company tomorrow, and you had to pick a few business partners to run a business, who would they be? Would they be the guy that you were trying to get involved in Ambit that's broke, that has no credibility, that maybe every other word's the F word, and he's negative every time you're around him? No, you don't want that guy. You're not going to pick him as your business partner. So why are you going to pick him as your business partner here? Why are you going to waste all your time trying to, personally develop this person and get him to RC or SC? Don't waste your time with the wrong people, guys. The 5 characteristics of the people that you want to build that business with should be the 5 characteristics that you want to build this business with. And so what are those characteristics? Honest, coachable, hardworking, credibility, someone that people respect, that's the type of thing. So here's a little lesson. Here's a little exercise in knowing what you're looking for. There's a couple different things I like to use because I come from the car business. So anybody here that's ever bought a new car or a used car that they've never owned before, right? So say maybe you buy a red Toyota Camry. You've never had a red Toyota Camry before. So you buy this car, and then after you buy the car, you're driving that car, and you start seeing red Toyota Camrys everywhere. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize there was so many red Toyota Camrys. Why is that? And it's amazing. So when you buy a new model car or something, you start seeing them everywhere, right? And so what happens is all of a sudden you recognize something that you didn't pay attention to before. And another example is if you say to somebody, okay, we're in a room, look around the room and tell me everything you see that's blue. And people start looking around and they start picking out things that are blue all over the place that they never recognized before, because now they know what they're looking for. And so when you actually take the time to write down the 5 characteristics of the type of people you're looking for, guess what starts to show up? They're everywhere. And you start overhearing conversations. And you start sitting down with people that join your team. And all of a sudden you're going, wow, these people have the characteristics that I'm looking for. These are the ones I'm going to spend my time with. And so the 3 examples I'll use with you is I had lunch with a gentleman yesterday that joined our team. He was on my list. When I started Ambit, this guy was on my list. He was a referral. I didn't even know this guy. But I had a realtor friend that I prospected about Ambit, and he was very successful. And he said, this guy here, his name's Dan Downs. He said, you want to call him? So I gave him a magazine with my phone number on it to give to this guy, Dan Downs. And I got Dan's phone number. And I prospected Dan. We had some good conversations. I chased this guy for over 2 years, right? And so he's a realtor, plus he was a salesman for a local cable company. He was the top salesman in our area. And, I just was never able to connect with the guy. But he was still on my list. Someone shows up in our downline that used to work with him, and his name comes up. And then she went and sponsored him. So before Christmas, in early December, he ended up getting in. And we had a couple of text conversations, and then he had some situations he had to deal with in the holidays, so we weren't able to connect. Well, we were able to connect yesterday for lunch. And so we had lunch, and we talked, and he's a new MC. He's got his customers, but he hasn't really gone out and done anything yet. So we had the conversation, and man, I learned a little bit about his wife. And she was the top State Farm insurance salesman in the area for a while. And it turns out, now she's in the medical industry, and it turns out my wife knows her. She's talked to her and whatnot, and she knows who she is. So I told my wife, after my wife and I had lunch with Dan, talking about getting started, getting RC, free energy, and that type of stuff, and getting plugged in. And then we talked today about his wife. I told my wife, I said, you need to be reaching out to, her name is Echo. And I said, you need to reach out to Echo. I said, Dan and Echo, they're who we're looking for in our EC code. They are who we're looking for. And then I had lunch again today with a guy that I was prospecting for him, and that's a long story, but he was giving me some more insight about Dan Downs' ability and his background and some of the things he's accomplished. So anyways, I'm not going to get into that, but the point is, if I didn't know what I was looking for, it might have just been a situation where I got together with someone and had a nice lunch and maybe a good conversation and thought, you know what, that guy might be good at this, right? But no, my radar is up. I mean, he is in the bullseye of my radar. He is a high priority for me to get to know and spend time with and make sure that I help him have success, because he's the guy I'm looking for. And then another one today was a gentleman that I prospected, and I prospected this guy off LinkedIn. And this guy's in the car business, and we met about 2 months ago, and I'm just like, man, this guy has got it. But you know what? I found out that he knew 2 other people on my team. And so what I did was I told one of the other guys that's in the game, I said, hey, you need to get a hold of Corey Smith. I had a meeting with him today, showed him the plan. He's interested. So again, long story short, I got together with that person and Corey Smith. He's getting in tonight. And Corey's everything that this guy needs in his SC code to go EC. Corey's going to lead to a lot of people, and he's got high integrity, and he's just a great guy. So the last one was my wife had a meeting with a new MC tonight that joined our business, again, that had those characteristics. Single mom, musician, Canadian, just got back from Canada. She's very popular. She's a super nice person, and she signed up the other day. We showed her the plan before Christmas, and she signed up. So again, you know what? Knowing what you're looking for, guys, that was really what I wanted to zero in on tonight. I think I burned up the 30 minutes. So before I go off course here and take this thing off road, I want to turn it over to Marc and just kind of follow your lead.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's a great story. I mean, it's exactly what I think a lot of people need to hear, is that we're not looking for everyone. We're looking for the one. And you really hit the nail on the head with that. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Open in Japan. I mean, I know you probably get that question a lot. And, there's a lot of people in the business who say, what can they do to start building Japan or Canada and countries like that? And just kind of give us your perspective on it and what the average person should be doing to reach out to those countries.
Yeah, I'll give you a brief answer to that question. Don't give up on Japan. If you haven't got anything going on over there yet, meet people on social media. Keep asking your friends here, who do you know, who do you know, who do you know? Guys, Japan hasn't even started yet. I mean, the company's worked out some kinks. They've hired, I think they've got about 50 people in the corporate office now. And they've really kind of figured out some things, learning that market. It's a very complicated place to do business. You're talking about the time difference, the distance, the language barrier. So my hat's off to Ambit for figuring some things out over there and getting things ironed out. So 2018 is going to be a big year over there. They're going to start running promotions, and things are going well, And so the big teams over there that are really cooking are teams that, someone that knew someone, someone that had a connection, and it led to somebody, and it's the same as here. But, Japan will probably be our biggest market in Ambit, in my opinion. Years down the road, we'll look back at that. But, I like the idea of build local, think global, because, in your own backyard, if you build here, but you're just, you're kind of having that conversation with people. Hey, you know anyone in Japan? Our company opened over there. That's really the smartest way, I think. And then making friends on social media. I think, when you make a friend, my advice is not to make a friend and then attack them with Ambit right away. My advice is make a friend, and let them see your, family photos on Facebook and having fun and this and that. Maybe you sprinkle a little bit of Ambit in there every once in a while, make them curious. And then at the right time, say, hey, do you keep your options open? Do you look at other things, just like we do? So it's very similar. It's the relationship, Mark. At the end of the day, it is the relationship just like it is here. But I would encourage people, keep digging and prospecting for Japan, because you get a runner over there. It can change your family's, financial situation big time.
Well, we've been looking at my Japan buttons for forever. I don't think there's any Japanese people in Pittsburgh though. That's why we moved to Florida.
I bet there's some in Florida.
Oh yeah. Hey, the next question I have for you was you talked a little bit about your early days in Amway and about the leadership, and you've had a great opportunity in Ambit to be close to Chris Chambliss more than a lot of people have, just with what you guys have done in the launch of Japan. Can you shed some light on Chris and kind of his character for people who are new to the business or who really don't know him that well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I could do a 2-hour seminar about that and not run out of material. I think the world of Chris and Jerry. One of the first things that I wanted to know from Ray when we had that two-hour conversation the first night was, who are these guys? I'm not going to waste my time with a company with bad leadership, with shysters, with, I just seen that stuff. And to me, money's not worth that. I'm just not I'm not willing to work with a company that's just not got the right stuff. And so that was an important question. Ray answered a lot of those questions for me about Chris and Jerry, because Ray's pretty tight with Chris. And being over in Japan and having the luxury of hanging out a little bit, being in some meetings and being at BPs and trainings with Chris and spending some time, it just blows me away at the wisdom that Chris has. It really does. I mean, there's times when he'll say the simplest thing and you just scratch your head and say, that is so brilliant. I mean, I could make example after example. And so, one of the things I love about our company and gives me so much faith and confidence is Chris and Jerry, who they are, how real they are. They don't pull punches. They're not They're not, out to sell you on anything. They tell it like it is, whether you want to hear it or not. They tell it like it is. And the wisdom, I think the wisdom and integrity, the fact that Chris and Jerry came together to build this business, and Jerry's got his background as a brick and mortar business guy, and then Chris is a marketing genius. I mean, if you think about it, he was the CMO of Excel, the fastest growing company in this industry until Ambit came along, and then Ambit became the fastest growing company. Fastest to get to $1 billion was Ambit Energy, and Chris was the CMO of both of those companies. There's no other guy that walks on planet Earth that has those accolades. And so, as far as Chris being in Japan, I've heard it from his mouth, and he's like, I'm not leaving this up to somebody else. The reason why he inconvenienced himself, he just bought a beautiful lake home in Texas. He's got 2 beautiful homes, and Chris has got a nice lifestyle. They didn't have to go up in Japan. And trust me, it is not convenient living in Japan. My wife's over there laughing right now, you guys. I mean, because it is, it's not fun. I mean, it's, we've met some good people and we're doing what we got to do, but we're not over there sightseeing and laughing and giggling and having fun. We're over there working. And so Chris has massively inconvenienced himself to go over in a very complex part of the world and open a company where everybody's skeptical and just manhandle every situation from the front. And I'll tell you, it's cool to watch because I've seen some of the struggles over there that corporate has faced getting started, and how Chris has handled situations and just what he's doing, and my level of respect for the guy. Not only that, but then dealing with Dallas with the time zone difference. And Chris got sick a few times, really, really sick, because he was just burning the candle at both ends. He was up all night long, and then in the office, and then up doing conference calls with Dallas, and it just got to the point where he was burning himself out. But Marc, I could go on this one, but just we're in good hands. I mean, great Christian guy, just an incredible Christian guy. And that was another one of my questions early on about Chris and Jerry and their faith and their family and stuff like that. That was kind of a hot button for me. And so Chris is the real deal, definitely.
So that leads me to my next question is, faith is an important part of your life as well as ours, or else we wouldn't be in Florida right now. But tell me about how that's directed you in your steps through Ambit. As you grow in your business and kind of you see those open doors. And I know that for Christina and I, it was a conversation about faith with Chris Chambliss that really gave us that. This is the right place for us to be, and God's really opened up a lot of doors for us. I mean, we trust that the path is gonna, we know we're on the right path, even with what's happening here in Florida. We just, we don't understand everything, but we know that it's going to be huge. So talk to us a little bit about how that plays a role in how you grow your business.
Well, that's huge. I mean, that's number one for me. The first conversation I had with Chris Chambliss was probably very similar. It ended up going down that road right away, talking about just, God and family and how God's kind of gave Chris and Jerry this opportunity, and he's just trying to do the right thing with it. It was funny when we first got started, there was nights I couldn't sleep. And I'm just like, this business at the time that it came into my life, with a lot of different circumstances, it made no sense in the natural world. This business did not make sense. The timing with things going on in her life. I mean, my wife looked at me like I'm crazy. She wanted nothing to do with this at first and just was like, how are you going to do this? And we were involved in another network marketing company that she was building. And I was supporting her. It was a skincare company. So I learned early on that I wasn't a good skincare salesman. So I kind of knew my role. But she was doing really well. She had a team, she earned a car, and she was making money and stuff like that. But, again, the leadership, it was really a turnoff for me. I just kind of bit my tongue a lot, and I kind of hung around. But so when this came along, again, it didn't make a lot of sense. but man, I couldn't sleep at night. And I was just laying there thinking about the possibilities. And the funny thing is a lot of times when we sign people up, and then we'll overhear people talking about they can't sleep. I'm like, all right, they're going to build it. They're around for a long time. Because it's just funny how to me, it was God. It was like God was just trying to get my attention going. No. You need to zero in here and pay attention. And my walk with God is pretty much, okay, God, what do you want? Let me get out of the way. And my number one thing in life is God's will, not mine. So if God told me tomorrow, sell everything and quit Ambit and move to Zimbabwe, that's what I do. I mean, I hope he doesn't do that. but the moral of the story is, for me, when I'm talking to Christians, and I'm very open about that, this was a gift from God. And I'm thoroughly convinced of that because of, the way things have unfolded, the relationship I've developed with Ray and Brian McClure and Chris and Jerry, and our daughter was able to do an internship at Ambit last summer in the Treasury Department because of being at a black tie dinner and sitting next to Lori Rodriguez and having a conversation with her, and then one thing led to another, and emails with Jerry Thompson. All of a sudden, my daughter's working at Ambit with Lori Rodriguez and just hanging out with those people, and she may go back and do it again this summer. But God that's God. That's not me. That's not because I'm so great. Guys, I'm a part of a team. I'm a guy that really found himself in the right time, at the right place at the right time. I'm no different than most people. Maybe, got a few things, work ethic, a little experience, but I'm not some guru superstar. I'm really not. So the glory goes to God for any of our success and any of the accolades and any of the things that have happened that have been positive. It's not because I'm that good. It really isn't. And I don't want to throw myself under the bus, but I'm just a normal guy. I mean, I just try to stay attention, and I try to have that, what do you call that? That radar, trying to zero in and focus on God and understand where I'm supposed to be, and then just do the best I can, and I mess up sometimes and I fall short, and, there's times when I forget to call somebody back, or, I don't get somebody started right, or, I drop the ball, but it's okay, so, but it's been, I'm 110% thoroughly convinced that this has been a gift from God, and that nobody convinced me anything, can tell me anything different. It's that strong. And again, I could go on about this, guys, but I don't want to just ramble.
Yeah, Christina and I feel very strongly the same way, and like I said, we probably wouldn't be right here right now if it wasn't for that. But another question for you is, sometimes whenever a new consultant gets started, they're afraid to talk to the higher power type business people. It's like I met a lady yesterday or 2 days ago here in Florida who's a venture capitalist, does merger and acquisition, high-powered businesswoman, travels all over the world. And, a lot of times whenever a brand new consultant gets in the business, they would meet someone like that and kind of get scared to talk to them. And I think a lot of times we focus on those early bonuses of $100 or $150. And, maybe we think to ourselves that people wouldn't be attracted to, those types of numbers. So, you coming from a world where, being in the car business, having success and, dealing with these types of people, give us, especially as a new consultants, give us some insight on the mind of a person like that and kind of how we should approach them.
All right, I got a funny story for you. This is a great question. So early on, when my wife was involved in the skincare company, I'm out there pitching skincare to, guys, girls, whatever. But I did it tactfully. If I was talking to a woman, I would say, my wife has this product. If I'm talking to a guy, it was kind of awkward. It was like, I kind of figured out like, this is kind of weird, so it was something I would try to avoid, I tried to come up with another angle. So anyways, I was down at a car auction in Connecticut, and this is about facing your fears and prospecting successful people. And this was a breakthrough for me. And what happened was, you hear Chris talk about 20 seconds of courage, right? And there's a guy that owns this auction in Connecticut I was going there for 10 years. Every Wednesday, drive down there 3.5 hours from Maine to South Windsor, Connecticut, to Southern Auto Auction. It's the largest privately owned auto auction in the world. The guy that owns it's a billionaire. His name's Larry Tribble. And so I was going down there for 10 years, every Wednesday buying cars, and he kind of knew who I was, but I was a little, nobody compared to a lot of those big dealers that had multiple big conglomerates. So anyways, I'd go down there. And so, I'm kind of excited about this opportunity my wife's got going, and she's having some success. So I found myself standing next to Larry Tribble. I'm at the auction, and there's thousands of buyers there, and there's people everywhere. It's a zoo on auction day. And I prospected Larry Tribble. I'm like, you know what? What the heck? So I'm talking to this guy that's a billionaire about skincare. And he kind of looked at me, and so there was a point where he's listening to me, and he's just standing there, he's listening to me, and he says, "How can I help you?" And I said, and I'm like, well, I got a bottle of this stuff out in my car. If I bring it in, would you and your wife try it? And he goes, sure. So, I went back to doing my thing. And at the end of the day, I went out in my car and I kind of found him, and I kind of had to hunt him down. I think he might have been avoiding me. And the guy that was running around with a bottle of skincare to find him. And I gave him the bottle, and he politely accepted it. And I thought, wow, that was really awkward. And I just prospected a billionaire. And I was like, you know what? That was really cool, because I just prospected a billionaire. And he listened to me. He gave me the time of day. He was just like every other prospect I've ever talked to. He was no different. He was willing to listen, and he took the bottle. I never followed up with him because I was just like totally messed up over that. I mean, I was like, all right, it's skincare. I'm not going back for that bottle. So anyways, but the whole point of the story is this. I learned that if I can prospect that guy, I can prospect anybody. So it really kind of taught me a lesson in facing your fears. And what I learned is this. When it comes to prospecting people or calling people, what I do a lot of times is, it's funny. I'll play this game with myself. I'll dial the number, and before I hit the last number, I just sit there for a minute. It's like to a pool of cold water. You just got to jump. I mean, you just hit that next number, and it's like, all right, no turning back now. The phone's ringing. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe ugly. We'll get through it. And it just always seems to work out. So I think when it comes to prospecting people that are successful, number one, that's a great idea. And number two, you just have to do it. You just have to jump. Because what you find at the end of the day, they put their pants on one leg at a time. They're probably more receptive than someone that's, maybe a little less successful, right? And so, yeah, they're just people like everybody else.
Yeah, we get, it's funny because what we've learned over the years is that, a no from a multimillionaire is the same as a no from your broke brother-in-law. Actually, it's a lot easier because they let you down and gracefully, they'll say, oh, we appreciate your time and this just isn't for me. And your broke brother-in-law tells you you're going to jail and you're in a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that's right.
It's usually a lot more graceful. Before I open it up for any other questions, I want to ask you one more. If I'm new in the business, just getting started out or looking at the business for the first time, talk to me a little bit about simulcast and the importance of the event and kind of what you see, for a new person getting in, should they invest in simulcast? Should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things my wife came home and talked about tonight when she met with this lady. Her name's Joan Kennedy. If you look her up on YouTube, she's a Canadian kind of like a country music singer. And so, when they met with Joan, that was one of the things she said. She said, hey, and matter of fact, Joan's going out of town, but she's like, all right, I'm going to sign up anyways because, we told her about, sometimes the attendee only bonuses. We don't know what any of that's going to look like, but it was $45 to sign up because of the fact that she was a new MC. She just signed up. And so, that's, again, my wife she's better at this business than I am. I'm the one that ends up like talking in front of people a lot, but she's the one that does all the really amazing things. And so, she met with Joan and the other MC tonight. And so when she came home, she told me about the meeting and how it went and whatnot. And she said, Joan signed up for simulcast. So the reason for that is because my wife promoted it and let her know the value of that event. And what it is, people are emotional. People move on emotion. We're emotional creatures. And so when you attend or watch an event like that, there's going to be so much content that is just absolutely phenomenal that you cannot help but get emotionally intertwined in the stories and the motivation and the success and the fun and the tears and the stories that are going to rip your heart out, and the ones that are going to make you laugh. And, we're emotional beings and we make decisions based on emotion. And you're going to see things during that event that are going to inspire you. They're going to motivate, inspire, educate, inform, everything under the sun. And so, it's like, I like to say going to the event is the difference of, you watch a basketball game on TV or you go to the basketball game, right? You hear the crowd. When you're at the game, you get to experience the national anthem and, the noise level and the excitement and all that stuff. You don't get that on TV. So if you can't go and you live stream it, hey, you know what? That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can go and experience it live, that's something that I like to say. It's like trying to explain the taste of a banana. You can't explain it, right? You just have to go. And so it's funny because I always say to people, I've never, ever had a person go to a big event in this industry like simulcast, any big event like that, and say, man, I wish I didn't go. I had better things to do with my time. No, 100 times out of 100, they say thank you, and they're excited. And all the momentum and growth comes out of the big events. People get inspired. So, yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And, don't stop trying to get people there till the last bell, because you may get the next Ray Monty to show up and, you didn't even realize it. And they go to an event like simulcast and all of a sudden you've got a national consultant years later in your business that's, driving, tens of thousands of dollars a month in residual income into your household because of getting someone to an event. Now that's extreme, right? But that does happen. Someone got Ray Monty to an event. It was Brian McClure. And, he flew him down to Dallas twice and he was persistent. He chased Ray down. Ray said no, I think 2 or 3 times to Brian. So think about that one. But yeah, events are everything in my opinion.
Yeah, we agree. All right, let me see. I'm going to put it on gallery mode here. It says, anybody have a question that you want to ask? Christina, you have a question? All right, Ryan here. I'm going to put Ryan on. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know this answer or not, but I was meeting with a lady recently, and she does real well in a beach body. She's actually going to show me how to network on Facebook. But why do some companies not allow themselves to do other work, like with Ambit or with any other companies? Like, why would some companies be like that? They can only work a beach body, and they can't do something else like this. Because she would be perfect for my business, but she's not allowed. You happen to know why some companies do that?
Yeah, unfortunately, here's the danger, and here's what these owners are afraid of. They're afraid of cross recruiting, and so all these companies have their own little laws, their own little rules, I should say. And when people sign up, especially when they become leaders, you know, there's crazy stuff that goes on in this industry. There's leaders that will take a whole organization to another company. And so, there's been lawsuits upon lawsuits over crazy things that have gone on regarding that topic. And so what happens is some companies have a very strict non-compete, meaning that when you sign up for Beachbody and you're a representative, you cannot join another company because they don't want you to go out and build a successful team and then expose your team to another company with the fear of your downline saying, hey, let's go do that instead. The Ambit looks better than Beachbody because I don't have to sell anything. They just opened in Japan. So companies just try to protect themselves from that happening. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, they just come up with these blanket policies, and we're not really a threat. We're not a threat as far as being a conflict with our product or our service, but the threat is, someone going out there and stealing a downline, or, another thing is if this lady, here's the thing that happens sometimes, and I'm not saying that this lady would do this, but say she's successful in Beachbody, she joins Ambit, she comes to a bunch of big events with Ambit, starts collecting business cards at all the events, right? And then she starts prospecting other people's downline to join Beachbody. Well, that's called cross-recruiting, and it's really not a good idea. It's not healthy for anybody. But unfortunately, people do it. People do it, and it goes on throughout the entire industry. So different companies have had major lawsuits over this stuff, and so they just try to avoid it.
Yeah, and one thing I like about Ambit is our policy is pretty simple. You just can't do anything that's energy related. So I think Chris and Jerry kind of know their, they know the quality of their product, so to speak. So they're not really worried too much.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions out there? Let me see anybody. Oh, Cheryl. Okay, let me bring up Cheryl Williams from Ohio. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Hi, Tim. I was just wondering, do you and Sonia have kind of a routine or a schedule or something that you guys try to follow daily?
Yeah, that's a good question. I live religiously by a list. Here's my list after I talked to Marc on the phone earlier. We try to make sure we're on the same page. And so, building as a couple, she has certain strengths, I have certain strengths. We try to play off each other. Like tonight, it was funny because we were at our car dealership. One of the guys that is a key employee, his father-in-law died, so he's been out for a few days. So we had to cover. And so Sonia and I were there today. So she came in a little bit later. I had a lunch meeting, and then she was there, and I had a 4:00 meeting with this guy that I was talking about earlier, this guy Corey Smith, at 4:00 at a Dunkin' Donuts with him and this guy Jamal that's an SC on my team. And then I had to rush back because she had a 6:00 meeting with Joan and this lady Beth that's on our team. And so I was kind of late getting back. She was a little late getting to her appointment because I ran into some traffic. But, I went and did these meetings. She went and did that meeting. It made more sense for her to be with Beth and Joan. There's two females, right? It made more sense for me to be with Corey and Jamal. And so, then we'll kind of say, I might give her some tips to say, hey, make sure when you see Joan, talk about this, or, she'll do the same thing for me. But we make lists. With our busy lifestyle, we have to stay on the same page, and I live by the daily, weekly list, respect each other's time and try to be, thoughtful and smart about what's going on in our lives so that we're not torturing each other, or, we want to have a life too, so prioritizing and making lists and being on the same page and communicating is huge. I think that's one of the things that it's probably one of the biggest things for couples is communication. But in addition to that, when you're trying to build a network marketing business and, run a family and do all these different things, it's important to make sure that we're on the same page. Good question.
All right, let me see if there's any other questions out there. All right, we got Justin Steger. I'll get to you next, Larry. Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, Tim, I have a team of about 5 guys over in Japan. They're from the island of Okinawa. They're military guys. They had some quick momentum. When they figured out we didn't service the island, they quit. So do you have any insight on that, or is there anything I could have done to, keep them going or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything you can do when somebody quits because of something like that. I mean, we always want to think maybe if I did this or that, I could have salvaged that. But, we all deal with that. One thing I did hear, and this is not something to go post on Facebook, but I did hear from one of the key corporate guys that they're working on Okinawa. So maybe reach out to these guys and just say, hey, guys, hang in there. There's some buzz. Sonia, did you hear that same thing? And this is from a key person. I was in a meeting with some corporate people, and that buzz is going around. For whatever reason, Okinawa's electricity grid is different than the main island. And so I don't fully understand that, but, I would just try to keep them in the game. I mean, let them know. I mean, I'd be willing to do a 3-way call for you at some point with these guys if I can help. If I can do anything to help you with them guys, I'm all in.
Yeah, I did. I used Zoom to show them the plan, and I did the 3-way with myself over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And that created some quick momentum, which got the one guy got about 5 guys in a week. But then that's what they said. But he did say he would be back on board as soon as Okinawa opened up. So.
Well, I'm going back over in early February. Probably going to head over. Looking like about February 7th. We'll be there for a couple months. So just get my contact information from Marc and Christina, and I'll be happy to do a phone call, Zoom, 3-way, line. You create a line group, and we can do a 3-way video chat. Whatever we're going to do. I'll definitely do that for you and try to stay in touch with them for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I used your YouTube video to show them originally.
Cool. I'd love to talk to them.
Thanks.
All right, next up is Larry Venzel. Go ahead, Larry.
Hey, how you doing, Tim? Thanks for talking. I appreciate your Christian faith as well there. I also believe it's a gift from God. And I guess my question would be, as a business owner, and I have refrigeration, heating, cooling business. Obviously, it's cold here in Pennsylvania is where I'm at. We're busy. Just seems like I'm always busy. It's been that way. I've had this business 29 years.
Mm-hmm.
It started being a truck, and now I'm at, 13 trucks. I think I just bought another one. It's growing. It's doing great. I understand it can't give me what I think Ambit can. That's why I have that vision. I got that, my gosh, look what this can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to figure out that transitioning, and you were talked about, hey, I'm working and I'm running to the meetings and I'm working and I'm running here. And I find myself sometimes just running ragged, and I just got to take a break. And the break has to seem to come from Ambit, which is tough for me because I know that when I take a break, it's not going to get anywhere if I don't continue to work it. So I guess, I don't know if you just maybe talk into that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's one I completely relate with. Here's what I can tell you. Every single one of our situations is a little bit different. There's no 2 people that have the same situation. Your situation is very similar to mine, and here's where I was at. I found myself prior to Ambit and about the time that I got in Ambit, I was just frustrated. I was running these businesses, and I was a victim of circumstances. My business was running me, in some cases, into the ground. And so every problem that existed, whether it had to do with equipment breakdown, a customer that was upset, an employee that was, having a bad day or wanted to quit or stabbing me in the back, they were my problem. Every single problem was my problem, right? So that's very frustrating. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to do the right thing, and I'm the bad guy. How is this? And I became a victim of circumstance. So it's frustrating when you're running a traditional business and you're busy and you're growing it. You know what I found, and I related with Mike Obey when I heard his presentation. I'm like, man, he's talking about my life, because he was so busy. He thought that the bigger he built his business, it was going to create what he was looking for. And what happened was the trap got worse. It just kept getting worse. It didn't get better. And so a lot of times we think, okay, if we become more successful in our traditional business, it's going to get better, right? If I add 2 more trucks, right, and I get this account and I put more money in the checkbook, and you know what happens? Nothing changes. It gets worse. And so I'm in a position right now where I'll tell you what, you guys, I'm pinching myself right now, because my wife and I, our life is about to hit another gear, and it's just unbelievable. The doors that have opened up and the things that have changed. And this is very, very preliminary, and I'll just say this here. I'm not going to publicly say this, but I'm looking at getting rid of my last business. I'm having some conversations right now about that. And, my wife's like, man, show me the way. Show me what door to go through, and that's a done deal. She's so ready for that, it's not even funny. But we've slowly been getting rid of our businesses, just because in our situation, for us, financially, we put ourselves in a position where we're not worried about money anymore. But I have to transition out of this the right way. I have employees. I have responsibilities. I can't just walk. There's certain things I have to do. But the thing is, what we want is we want a quality of life. To us, in our life, quality of life is more important than money. And, being able to be ourselves and not be uptight and frustrated and dealing with things every day that just rob your peace. And I just got so sick and tired of that. And that's what this gift has given me, is that this gift has given me the opportunity to, I'm going to be 50 years old next month, and it's getting good, I'll tell you. And I feel for you. The best advice I can tell you is pray about it. God knows what to do. I don't have the answer to that question. You probably don't have the answer to that question, but he does. And so, we're faced with situations sometimes in our life that we can't quite figure out. And one thing I've learned, and this is brilliant right here. When we deal with these things, you know what it does? It brings us closer to God. When we face struggles and challenges and things we can't figure out and things that are just difficult, what it does ultimately as a Christian is it gets you to seek God. It gets you to say, Lord, I surrender, and I can't figure this one out. I don't have the answers. I know you do. You got to turn it over to him. So that's the best I can give you, advice I can give you there. I know one thing, that's the well you want to draw from right there.
That's awesome. I think that's what we all needed to hear.
Yes.
Yeah, Tim, Christina and I had the same, situation with our tiramisu business. It was really hit the tipping point. We went from 3 to 11 states. It was exploding. Popularity was really on the rise. And what I saw was I was losing my life, quality of life. And Ambit was growing simultaneously. So we had to make a decision. That's one of the things where that company could be a multi-million-dollar company, but we just chose to walk away from it, But, yeah. So,
yeah.
Anyways, the last question I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to let you go because it's late. is Christina and I have been in a part of launches of a lot of new markets. We've been a part of, we were actually recruited whenever Pennsylvania was just getting started. We were part of Ohio and things like that, but we've never been a part of a state that's not deregulated like we are right now. So this is a personal question for us is, what should we be doing here in Florida? We're 1,000 miles away from the nearest deregulated states. So, give us some advice.
Yeah, it's funny. I have this conversation with a couple on my team all the time. They live down in Florida, and they come up here to Maine part-time, but they're a great couple. They're actually the EC that just popped in our organization is in their downline. So this is a retired couple that their Social Security, after working for 40 plus years, Ambit Energy's residual income surpassed their Social Security in about a year and a half. And so, it's grown. Their residual has grown and grown. They're in the Comma Club now. And so, I have conversations with, she's an SC. Her name's Lois. She's the chatty one. I talk to her all the time. She's like my second mom. And, Lois calls me frustrated a lot. She vents to me a lot, and I don't mind. I mean, it's a relationship we have. But she's hungry. I mean, this lady's driven. She's 70. How old is Lois, Sonia? 73 or 4? Yeah. And this lady's a fireball. But I always tell her, I said, Lois, just keep having conversations with people. Who do you know in Japan? I mean, your odds of knowing people that are going to have connections to Japan in Florida are way higher than Pennsylvania. And then there's the prospect of Florida opening up in the next who knows how long, right? You guys are going to be right in the driver's seat. So I think what happens is the discipline of, keeping yourself in the game prospecting, because, in Florida, the majority of people that live in Florida are not from Florida. And I think I've heard that from people in Florida. I'm not an expert on that topic, but you go down there and people are from Boston and New York and Pennsylvania and Maine, and they're from everywhere but Florida, right? So most people down in Florida have connections to Canada, New York, Pennsylvania, Maine, Japan. So it's really a fertile place for recruiting, in my opinion. I heard a story years ago in this industry, and it's kind of a cliche, but I'll share it with you. There was a shoe salesman that was sent to another country to sell shoes, worked very successfully for a company, and they were going to open in a new country. And so they shipped him over there, moved him over there. And when he got there, they shipped over a bunch of product. And after he was there for a couple months, he called back to the corporate people and said, send me back home. He said, I can't sell shoes here. Nobody wears shoes. And so they're like, wow, we didn't realize that. So they sent him back home, and he went back to his old job. And so they decided to send another salesman over there that had a great attitude, was a young guy, and really hungry. And they sent him to that same country. And when he got over there and he was there for a couple weeks, they sent a bunch of shoes over. And he's like, man, you guys better up production because there's nobody that wears shoes here. We're going to make a killing. And you know what? It was the difference in perception. That was the only thing that was different. So being in Florida, man, I think I'm envious of you because there's some advantages there, in my opinion. But you just got to stay after it, really.
Yeah, I think that's going to be our biggest thing is just making sure we stay on it because people here can't be a customer. But like you said, I talked to a lady today. I was out walking my dog, and I said, how long have you lived here? And she's like, oh, we just moved in from Boston. Her husband's on a heart transplant list, and they said it's easier to get a heart transplant here. Young lady. And so there's just another, person on my list. I met somebody yesterday from Western Pennsylvania. I mean, it's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
Somebody who literally lives right next door to my grandma back home.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're one floor below us. So it's just, yeah, I mean, we know the opportunities around us, but it's just a matter of staying focused on Ambit, and
that's it.
Yep. But, well, listen, I could talk to you all night, but I know we went over time. I do appreciate you staying on. And, we appreciate everything you do for us. And if we can ever do anything to return the favor, just give us a holler. So thanks for your time, Tim.
Absolutely. You know, I'll just wrap up by saying thank you. It's nice meeting everybody, by the way, and thanks for the great questions. If there's anything I can do to help, you know, my wife or I get our number from, you know, these guys, and we'll, whether it's Japan or, you know, I heard Ohio, Pennsylvania, and so yeah, Ohio gozaimasu. Yeah, that's a word over in Japan. Is that in the morning? Good morning, Ohio gozaimasu. So
Tell Sonia we said hi.
yeah, I will. Yeah, she's on the other side of the computer making dinner. But guys, what I want to say is this: wrapping up. Number one, looking forward to seeing you at simulcast, and number two, you guys have an incredible upline with Marc and Christina. I mean, these guys, their hearts are right. You know, they're the right type leaders, and I've heard other leaders talk about them, and they're probably a lot more respected than they even realize. And again, it's because of the authenticity. And I heard Marc speak at a power trip for the first time a while back, and I was like, wow, he's the real deal. So you guys have incredible leaders. Don't take that lightly. And again, if there's anything we can do to help, we'd be more than happy to. And God bless everybody. Have a great new year.
Bye-bye. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you. Thanks for your time, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.
Take care.